Out here in Brea, it's Daryl Ruiter and Coach Lance Reisland putting a wrap on not just this mandatory minicamp that took place this week, but, well, the offseason program, because school is out for summer for the Browns as everybody goes their separate ways for the next 6 weeks or so. The Browns will be back underway late July. We're looking around July 28th, approximately there, when veterans will report for training camp, and then the first workout, I believe, is going to be around July 29th. So we're going to have a little bit of a break, but a lot to talk about when it comes to this mandatory minicamp this week in the offseason program. And I want to start here, Coach, because we haven't talked a lot about it this week, but the emphasis on special teams and the fact that we have seen each of these three practices today extended periods, or I should say this week, extended periods of special teams work. And the big three young wide receivers, Casey Concepcion, Denzel Boston, getting these reps, and Isaiah Bond, getting these reps returning the punts and the kicks. Just your thoughts on what we're seeing from this special teams unit, and also Monken really seeming to place a premium on that unit as well.
Well, I think we saw last year, we knew that the offense was a struggle. The defense was very good, but not enough was said about the special teams last year. They really hurt this football team, and a lot of times what coaches will do is they'll say special teams are important, but you see it in action with Monken. Monken's a guy that they don't practice it just at the end or just at the beginning. They do it throughout practice. So kind of the theme was, we're going to go live, we're going to do a walkthrough, and then we're getting into special teams. And they did that for the first 2 days. They did during OTAs. They even did it during rookie camp with stations. Everybody's involved. They all understand the importance of special teams. Not only they just run the special teams, but they break the special teams down. Each individual group within extra point, within punt block, you name it, they're breaking it down individually as well as a team. And if you can be really good on defense and you can make special teams a wash, not always win it, but you don't talk about it, that's a good special teams day. You're going to be in a lot of football games because it looks like this offense is going to be better.
Well, we're going to get into the quarterback competition thing here in a little bit, but there's another competition on special teams that's brewing, and that's the punting situation. And that really seemed to take center stage here on Thursday as well.
Well, if you go into, as a coach, you usually run 4 to 5 punts and then you get out of it. They did 9-10 live punts today, rotating the three punters. All were kicking the out of it. Really, really good at what they did. But once again, coming out of that situational stuff, they did it coming out of their own end zone. They did it in the middle of the field. Then today they focused on, pooching it down inside the 5-yard line or inside the 10-yard line. And who can do that? Because obviously field position is very important. Another thing that's very important to this defense is making a team go 90 yards. Something that's going to be very hard to do with the athleticism and talent on this defense. It'll be a competition that's going to be very interesting getting into camp. All three guys punted it very well today.
It was a little bit of a shorter practice. Not too much, though. I'd say maybe 15, 20 minutes shorter than the previous couple of practices earlier this week. But the tempo, the pacing, there seemed to be a lot of situational tempo that took place today. What did you see there, and what was Todd Monken and his staff trying to accomplish in those periods?
Well, today's the day you love as a coach and as a player. It was kind of a dress rehearsal day. So you think about OTAs, you think about rookie minicamp, you think about all the things they've done in the meeting rooms. Today you got kind of like a dress rehearsal. A lot of 11-on-11s, a little bit of warm-up in the beginning, a little bit of individual, a little bit of group work. But even special teams today, everything was more game-like. Everything was 11-on-11. They'd get a little break, and then they would get into the next 11-on-11. So as a player and as a coach, you love these days because you kind of get to see what you've learned and if you've gotten any better at certain things. And I thought they did a great job. Both teams, both sides of the ball were, as you said, energetic, attention to detail. If they don't do it right, they do it over, and that's kind of the Monken thing that we've seen through minicamp through the whole summer. But today was a very kind of dress rehearsal day, get them out of here. As you said yesterday, getaway day. I thought they were outstanding today, just with the tempo. Mistakes are going to happen. You can control tempo and pace, and they did that today.
Really saw the activity on the defensive side of the ball today as well. Carson Schlesinger got his hand on a football. It was pretty funny. Vernon spooked Spencer Fano into a false start, which I thought was pretty hilarious. But just the activity on that side of the ball, working against this offense. A lot of batted passes, a lot of getting in the passing lanes, tightening those windows for these quarterbacks to look into. What did you like from the defense?
Well, I said to you when that happened, I was like, Spencer Fano has to go from, Myles Garrett, and then we're going to get rid of Myles Garrett. We're going to bring in Verse. So it's like there's no break for the young man. I think he's holding his own, but he's going to have his hands full all camp, especially when pads go on. You did see. Now, the thing that's common that I see every single day is you just kind of say Schlesinger's a good football player. He always seems to be around the football, whether it's pass, whether it's run. He's energetic. He's a guy. Quincy Williams looked really good today on defense, too, and he's kind of the vocal leader. This defensive front, like you said, they got their hands on a lot of passes. And then the secondary is very aggressive. They're in man coverage. They're helping over top with Ronnie Hickman. I think Ronnie Hickman had a very good day today. But again, the aggressive style that we've kind of known for the last couple years, it's still here. Different coach, same philosophy. They're getting after you, and they had a very good day today.
Yeah, when you talk about Verse, and obviously he's going to be tasked with replacing Myles, and that's just not impossible, or that's just not possible. It's an impossible task to ask of him. But hey, that's what fans are going to be watching for this fall. Hey, you're the guy the Browns traded Myles Garrett for. Forget the picks, but you're there on the field. His get off and his quickness, though, it's kind of like a mini Myles when I watch him. And as you said during practice about you go from Myles to Verse. Good luck with that. But I guess how can they? There's going to be a production drop-off. He's not coming out here and getting 20 sacks this season. But with what you have seen early on, how can the Browns compensate, I suppose, from that drop-off in the production, going from Garrett, who sets the single-season sack record? Now you bring in a guy like Jared Verse, and who's not a sack master, but he does get in the backfield and he makes a lot of noise once he does get back there.
Well, I think you said it best. The pressures he gets are up there with Myles Garrett. He's going to get to the quarterback a bunch. He doesn't finish like Myles does. Now, you're also going to get a little bit more physicality from Jared Verse. He's a guy who relies on getting into the chest of that offensive lineman and then working arm over and rip moves and all those things we like to talk about as coaches. But really it comes down to he's a physical guy. Yeah. He's a little bit more physical than Myles. He doesn't quite have the bend. No one has that bend, and that's okay. Now, what you're going to have to get is you're going to have to get more production from Malik Collins, Mason Graham, Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire. They're going to have to maybe bring some stunts where they bring Carson Schlesinger and Quincy Williams, where last year you could rely on four-man pressure. This year you're still going to be able to get four-man pressure, but you might be able to bring 5 and 6 at times as well because you trust your corners. And that's what I think you'll see is you'll see a little bit more pressure with 5 and 6 if those 4 can't get home. I'm not saying those guys can't. I think Mason Graham's a year older. Yeah. Carson Schlesinger a year older. You're just anticipating other guys. Other guys are going to have to do their part as well. Verse is going to get the majority of the help, but now offenses are going to help their weakest offensive lineman. And when you played Myles, it was always a left tackle, regardless who that was. So I think it's going to be more of a team effort. I still think they're going to they might even have more sacks as a team, but obviously it'll be spread out a little bit.
All right, let's get into it. We're at the end of the spring program here, the offseason program, and there is no starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. It is going to go into training camp, and not just go into the start of training camp, but Todd Monken making it very clear that competition is going to go well into when they have the pads on. So you're talking 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks deep into this training camp. I'll ask you this, Coach. Is it somewhat disappointing and a little bit of a failure that neither one of these guys has been able to take the reins and get this job? And, let's also go positive with it. What are the positives of now going into training camp with no starting quarterback and running a true competition when they're going to be in pads?
Well, I'll tell you what, today was Deshaun Watson was outstanding today. I thought he was a little bit more impactful than Shedeur was today. I thought Shedeur yesterday was a little bit more impactful. So they've had these ups and downs, but I don't think these ups and downs have been so giant. It hasn't been where one guy has been terrible and the other guy has been great. It also hasn't been that they've been lights out. Those extremes I don't think have been there during this camp. They've had some really good moments, but I tell you some things that are improving. Their footwork, their understanding where they're going with the ball, their progressions, their mechanics, their weight transfer, all those things that I kind of look for in a quarterback, I've seen improvement. You can see what Todd Monken, you saw it today with Dylan Gabriel, who's had his best day probably as a Brown. Doesn't mean he's outstanding, but you can see the improvement this offensive staff is having on all these quarterbacks. So no, I'm not disappointed because it hasn't been where they've been terrible. And that's where where sometimes they were last year.
I don't know. There have been a couple of throws.
There have been throws.
Where I'm just like, what are we doing here?
Correct. No, I'm speaking as a whole. And once again, you hope with more reps, the idea of timing with different receivers. KC is going to run a different route than Boston, even though it's the same route. They're going to run it a little differently. I see them going to the right spot a bunch. I could be wrong, but what I know is that it seems like they're going to where they need to go with the ball. It seems like their footwork is much better. It seems like the poise they're playing with, the confidence they're playing with. It seems like Monken and his staff have gotten to the point now they got to go play. And I think that's okay when you get the pads on. That's a good thing. And I think it's okay that it's going to go into camp because, again, I think they're both progressing at a high level. You got a guy coming off just 7 starts. You got another guy who's coming off major injuries. I think they've been better than they've been bad in my opinion, in terms of the whole picture. Some of the throws will improve. I believe those will improve with more reps.
What do you think it's going to take for one of these guys to take the reins and also, though, play at a level where they can play winning football and this team can win behind them, not maybe just do enough? Like, can either one of these guys elevate these young receivers and take advantage of the skill sets that Andrew Berry has found and added to that room?
Well, now they're much better. The tight end room's much better. We talked yesterday about the receivers. Junkins looks healthy. Sampson looks healthy. Rocket Sanders and even Marshall. They have some weapons around the quarterbacks this year. So that's going to be the first thing. They've addressed the offensive line. We don't know if it's better yet, but it's addressed, and that's important. These guys are all the influx of talent on the offensive side of the football has been noticeable. Doesn't mean wins. It just means when you see these guys move, we've seen it for the last couple of years. It's a different moving type of offense. So I think for these quarterbacks that have success, they're going to be guys you win with. They're not going to be guys you win because of early on. So that means the receivers have to play well. That means the offensive line has to pass protect. They have to run the ball. They have to be balanced in everything they do. This is going to be a team effort on offense. And the quarterback's got to make sure, in my opinion, it's going to come down who protects the football. Both have had some mistakes where they've given up the football during these last 3 days, and they can't do that. Because when you have talent around you, just got to put the ball in their hands. I think Monken's going to kind of stress protect the football. For me, that'll be, if they don't separate each other by play, it'll be who protects the ball better.
The other thing we're going to be watching in training camp is the offensive line. You mentioned those guys up front in the trenches. Obviously, it's rebuilt. We know 4 of the names that are going to be there. We don't know who number 5 is going to be. We also don't know if you're going to have Elton Jenkins at right guard, or is he going to have to play center and you're going to have to bring someone in to play right guard. But and it's so hard right now because they aren't in the pads. They're just working on their technique. They're working on their footwork. They're working on their leverage and their pad level and things like that. But let's look at, I guess, some of the contestants, if you will. Brailsford, obviously, he's gotten a little bit of a look here. We talked about your guy, KT Leviston, yesterday, and him getting some inside guard look there. What have you seen from the center and the right guard position here, and your thoughts is, what that might look like come the start of training camp?
Well, Parker Bracefield is a guy that moves just like you saw on film. He's a guy that's, the thing that would worry about, he is undersized right now, so he's got to take this 6 weeks and he's got to focus on that strength, make sure he's eating, make sure he gets his weight up as much as possible. But he's a guy that can move. When he gets covered by a 350-pound nose in the NFL, how will he handle that? Now, if he can do that, move Jenkins to the guard. I agree with you. KT Levinson got some work in guard. I think he can be successful there. Who's going to be the swing tackle? Is it going to be DeJuan Jones? Is it going to be Austin Barber, who also moves very well? So there's some competition there as well. And and the other Jenkins, there's so many guys, pieces, parts. They want to play the best 5 guys, and that's going back to what you had said going into this. They've really kind of stressed versatility. So these guys can play guard, tackle, center. Some are guards and centers, etc. So I look forward to seeing when the pads go on. We'll know a lot more. Again, I will say without the pads, the thing that you notice the most about these guys is their ability to move. These guys can all move, run multiple different schemes. It'll be good when the pads go on. I think, obviously, the center spot. I think they're going to be pretty set at tackle. It's going to be who's at center and where does that put Jenkins, the former All-Pro. At guard is where I think he's best.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The center spot appears to be the domino that's going to need to fall. All right, well, that's going to wrap it up here for our off-season coverage out here in Brea. Again, school out for summer. Browns are going to reconvene late in July. The rookies and quarterbacks will be first to report. Then, of course, the veterans, again, looking around July 28th-ish for the veterans to report. Maybe that first practice is going to be around July 29th. Thanks to Coach Riz. You're going to be seeing and hearing a lot from Coach Riz here, both on our YouTube channel as well as 92.3 The Fan. So for Coach Riz, Daryl Ruiter in Brea, thanks for watching here on the 92.3 The Fan YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Leave us a comment or two. A few likes would be nice as well. Have yourselves a great summer, and we'll be talking to you leading up to training camp, but we'll definitely see you back out here in Brea once training camp begins in late July.